Think about the last phone number you memorized. Not stored in your contacts, not looked up, actually memorized. The digits living in your head, available without a device. For most people, that phone number belongs to someone they have known for 20 years or longer. Everything after that lives in a rectangle of glass that you carry in your pocket. In 2015, a survey of 6,000 adults across Europe found that 91% of people use the internet as an online extension of their own brain. 1/3 could not recall their children's phone numbers from memory. Half could not recall their own work phone number. 91%, almost all of us, have already externalized a significant portion of what we know to a system we do not control, do not own, and cannot access without a charged device and a working internet connection. Here's what I want to ask. Not whether this is convenient. It obviously is. Not whether this is efficient. It obviously is. But whether something is being lost in the transaction. Something that is not just facts, but something more foundational than facts. In 2011, 3 psychologists published a study in Science magazine that should have reframed how we think about memory entirely. Betsy Sparrow at Columbia, Jenny Liu at Wisconsin, and Liu Wegner at Harvard. They were studying what happens to memory when people know information will be saved and retrievable later. What they found was precise and disturbing. When people expected future access to information, they remembered the information itself significantly less. And instead, they remembered where to find it. The folder name, the search term, the location of the data, not the data. Sparrow and her colleagues called this the Google effect. And what it means is this: your brain is not forgetting. It is filing. It is building an index of where things are stored, rather than storing the things themselves, which is efficient until the filing system goes down and you realize you no longer have the files. Liu Wegner had been thinking about external memory for years before Sparrow's study confirmed it. In 1986, he described what he called Transactive Memory Systems. The idea was simple. Human beings have always used other human beings as memory partners. In a marriage, one partner might remember the social calendar, the other might remember the finances. Together they form a transactive memory system, a collective store of information each can draw upon. This is not a failure of individual memory. It is a social adaptation, one that creates interdependence, deepens relationships, and distributes cognitive load across a community. The person who holds your memories has skin in the game. They are invested in your life. They need you to hold some of theirs in return. Now, we have replaced that human partner with an algorithm. And unlike a human partner, the algorithm offers infinite storage. It never forgets. It never needs you to remember anything in return. It has no stake in your cognitive development. It does not care whether you understand what it holds for you. A spouse who remembers everything for you, while you remember nothing for them, is not a partnership. It is a dependency. In 2014, a psychologist named Linda Henkel at Fairfield University in Connecticut ran an experiment in a museum. She led participants on a guided tour of the Bellarmine Museum of Art. Some objects they were asked to observe, others they were asked to photograph. Later, she tested their memory. The participants who had photographed the objects remembered fewer of them and fewer details about them than the participants who had simply looked. She called this the photo-taking impairment effect. When people rely on technology to remember for them, counting on the camera to record the event, and thus not needing to attend to it fully themselves, it can have a negative impact on how well they remember their experiences. Think about what this means for the way most of us move through our lives now. A concert, and half the audience is holding up a phone, recording something they will never watch again, but which their brain has already classified as saved, and therefore, not worth attending to. A meal, photographed before it is eaten, the aesthetic documentation complete, the experience slightly elsewhere. A sunset, a child's first steps, a moment that will not come again, each one signaling to the brain, The device has this. You don't need to. And the brain, being efficient above all else, agrees. But here is what Henkel also found, and what almost nobody mentions when this study is discussed. When participants zoomed in to photograph a specific detail of an object, their memory was not impaired. In fact, their memory for the whole object, including the parts that were not in frame, was just as strong as if they had simply looked. What this means is important. The impairment is not caused by the camera. It is caused by passivity, by offloading, by the act of letting the device do the attending that the brain was supposed to do. When the zooming in forces active engagement, forces the brain to make a decision about what matters, to look carefully and choose, the offloading signal is interrupted, and the memory is made. The problem is never the tool. It is the relationship with the tool. In 2014, two researchers named Pam Mueller and Daniel Oppenheimer published a study comparing students who took notes by hand with students who typed. Students who typed performed worse on conceptual questions, not because typing is slower or less sophisticated, but because it is faster. The laptop users transcribed lectures verbatim, capturing more words, but processing information more shallowly. The handwriters, constrained by the slower speed of pen and paper, were forced to listen, digest, and summarize in their own words. That forced reprocessing, the compression of information into something smaller and more personal, is what produces deeper encoding. I want to be careful here, because subsequent research has challenged the strength of this finding, and the full picture is more complicated than the headline suggests. But the underlying principle, the principle that the effort of synthesis produces stronger memory than the ease of transcription, this has not been challenged. And it is the same principle that runs through every anchor in this video. The brain remembers what it works to understand. It discards what it trusts a system to hold. Now I want to ask the question I have been building toward. Because everything so far is relatively familiar. We know we forget things we Google. We know photographs steal our attention. We know typing is more passive than writing. But there is a deeper question, one that I think deserves more space than it usually gets. If 91% of people use the internet as an extension of their brain, and the internet stores not just facts, but photographs, conversations, personal history, the record of who we were at different points in our lives, then who owns your past? In 2019, MySpace lost approximately 50 million songs from 12 million artists in a server migration. 15 years of early internet culture, early recordings from bands that no longer exist, photographs from people who have since died, the documented memory of an entire generation's early internet life. Gone, not stolen, not deleted maliciously, just migrated, incorrectly, by a company that had already moved on to other concerns. Google Photos changed its storage policy in 2021. Previously unlimited free storage, suddenly capped. Millions of people discovered that the photographs they had not bothered to back up, the photographs that existed only on Google servers, were now subject to deletion if they exceeded the new limit. These are not just data stories. They are memory stories. Real people who had trusted a platform with the documentation of their lives and discovered that the platform's relationship with their memories was entirely different from their relationship with the platform. There is a term emerging in the research that I think captures what is happening more precisely than digital amnesia. It is called cognitive offloading. And the concern is not just that we are forgetting more. It is that we are losing the skills that came from the effort of remembering. The ability to navigate without GPS is a spatial reasoning skill, built by years of finding your own way, and getting lost, and finding your way again. It is now atrophying in populations who have used navigation apps since before they could drive. The ability to spell is a phonological skill, built by years of encoding words in working memory and retrieving them under pressure. The ability to hold an argument in working memory across several minutes of dense reading is a comprehension skill built by years of reading dense things. All of these are being offloaded, and all of these are skills, not just conveniences, that the brain built through use and is now losing through disuse. In March 2026, Business Insider reported that the great AI de-skilling has begun. Not a future concern, not a theoretical risk, something researchers are now documenting in real populations, in real time. I want to end with something that is not a solution, because I do not think the answer is to stop using the internet, or to stop taking photographs, or to throw away your phone. The answer, if there is one, is something simpler and harder than that. It is to notice the moments when you reach for the device before you have given yourself a chance to remember. The phone number you could probably recall if you sat with the question for 30 more seconds. The name on the tip of your tongue that you Google before the tip has had time to resolve. The photograph you take of the view before you have stood in it long enough to own it. In each of those moments, there is a choice. Not between technology and no technology, but between attending and offloading. Between being present to your own experience and delegating it to a system that will hold it for you until it decides not to. The brain remembers what it works to understand. The question is not whether to let technology hold some of that work. The question is which parts of yourself you are willing to trust to a system that does not know you, does not need you, and will not notice when you are gone.